Thank you.
Kyle, welcome to town. How much, just having first practice, how much does that help you feel like this is real, this is the moment for you?
It felt good. Certainly kind of a whirlwind of 36, 48 hours getting down here, going through the physical and meeting everyone in the building, from training staff to equipment staff, strength staff, football staff. That was kind of Monday for me, and then yesterday a lot of the guys are around, and now you get to meet your teammates and the guys that you're going to be working with, whether in the tight end room or the offensive room in general. And then today to come out and get on the practice field. So it was kind of like 3 first days for me in a row, but it definitely felt great to be back out there on the practice field with all my new teammates and able to run around and knock some rust off.
Kyle, you had some options, a couple teams to go to. We presume to know why you chose this team this time, but we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me at this point, in my career and what I was looking for in terms of a team, an organization, everything's about winning. The only thing I haven't done to this point is win a championship, and that's all I want to do. And it's been very evident the first 2 days here that that's the ultimate goal. Everything that we do individually or collectively as a team, collectively as an offense, is about reaching that ultimate goal. And it's been stressed numerous times. Obviously came up just short last year, but you're kind of retooling the team each year, and now we got to start from ground zero and build back up to that. You don't just get the opportunity to be back in the divisional round. You have to earn it. And so for me, coming into a culture like that, to be around that type of vibe, that's what I was looking for. And certainly the obvious other reason was the quarterback and his play.
Quarterback. So what are you more excited to learn from Tom Brady, and how much can that elevate your career? Because you have the potential to go so much further with this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly exciting. I mean, it's unmatched, the success that he's had in this league. Obviously, he's had an unbelievable run with tight ends throughout the course of his career. So just being able to, I already told him last night after meetings, I'm like, when you get sick of me, just tell me. I'll give you your space. But until then, just constantly, because it's one thing to learn the offense. And, that's been I feel like I'm back in college and I'm cramming for an exam, trying to learn as much as I can, go out and practice it. And now I got to go back in there and learn everything for tomorrow's practice. And it's one thing to know what your job is, but then it's another to know kind of the nuances. And yeah, the lines on the paper may say this, but here's how Tom wants it. And, today we had a couple missed opportunities. Just I've run something a certain way my whole career, and, he wants it a little bit different. And he's the first one to come over and, hit me on the head and tell me, like, dude, we'll get that. Don't worry about it. Like, so there's a lot of catch up from that standpoint. But just to go to work every day and to be able to learn from somebody like that who's not only had the success that he's had at his position, but the success that he's had with other tight ends. So it's a ton of fun. It's kind of, invigorating for my career to here I am at year 12, and yet I still feel like I'm, learning something new every day. And, you mentioned it has great opportunity to kind of take my career to a place that's never been before.
You talked about the success he's had with other tight ends. Obviously, the tight end that just left here has had more success with him than anybody else ever. And what does that mean to you and your thoughts on filling shoes that are sort of impossible to fill?
Those shoes are way too big to fill, and I've got pretty big feet, so still, you're never going to fill those shoes. But, with that being said, yes, you can't fill those shoes, but I feel like there's so much ground to make up, and I don't have 10 years of experience with Tom to make it up. We played the Dallas Cowboys week 1 in September, and, my goal is to go out there that week and be on the same page with Tom like we have been playing together for 10 years. So, that's where I mentioned before, and I told Tom, when you're sick of me, just tell me, because I feel like we're playing catch up in terms of the nuances of routes and how he wants things. So, just spending that extra time together, whether it's in the meeting room, watching tape, out here during individual periods or special teams, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately for me, I've done this a lot over my career where you have to learn a new quarterback and, learn how they like routes run or learn, where they want your body in certain positions. So I'm used to it, but certainly now more than ever, definitely feel like I'm playing catch up.
Thomas has done a lot of recruiting. Russell Gage thought that he's getting a prank phone call
Yeah, absolutely. So, and when Tom reached out back early in the summer, it was even before Rob had made a decision, and he was like, "Look, we don't know what Rob's going to do at this point, but regardless, we need you down here." And to me, that was kind of my first introduction, if you would, to Tampa, and the thought of coming down here to playing. And then as the process kind of worked itself out, obviously when Rob retires, that left the void that we talked about in the tight end room. And what better opportunity for me at this point in my career to come down here and not only play with the greatest quarterback of all time, but like I said, play a part of this culture and be around this winning culture that Coach Bowles talks about all the time.
This team has targeted the tight end position in the red zone for the last few years more than any other team in the league. What does that do for you in terms of opportunity? Because it's opportunity, but it's also a lot of pressure too, especially when it's coming from Brady.
It makes me extremely excited because that's kind of how I've made a living in this career. That's how I've stayed in this league as long as I have, and those opportunities haven't been there the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to getting back to getting those opportunities. And if you play this game, that's pressure that you want. You want when we get down there, whether it's in the red zone, the low red, you can't wait for your number to be called and make a play for your team to put points on the board.
You're saying red zone is where you made your
Yes.
How are you? I know you played a long time.
Yep.
How are you feeling coming into this?
I feel great. Now I know why a lot of old people come to Florida when they get old. It's amazing down here. So, no, all joking aside, it's, for me to kind of have an entire off season. I had the foot surgery last year, so it's, it ruined all plans of training. It turns everything into rehab. But coming out of this past season healthy, being able to train like I normally would, allowed me to get to this point physically where, to come out here day one, oftentimes even when you've trained all off season, you're not ready for day one of training camp. Certainly there's rust, and now you're getting used to navigating bodies when you're running routes, especially as a tight end, because you have the defensive end, outside linebackers, safeties. It's one thing to run routes on air by yourself all summer, but then coming out here and navigating bodies, so there's kind of a different endurance that you have to build up. But physically, I feel great, and couldn't be more excited about how I feel right now.
Feel a brotherhood, Kyle? Do you feel a brotherhood with guys like Akeem Hicks, Keanu Neal, Julio, missing that Vince Lombardi trophy, veteran players? You sort of all got that same hunger.
Absolutely. I talked to Julio today as soon as he walked out on the field. Julio and I were the same draft class, got to know each other really well coming out of college, and he said almost exactly that. He's like, I'd really thought about coming down here, and he's like, seeing you go down there and some of the other pieces that they've had, he's like, just let's do it. Let's go do everything we can to try to win one. And I think it just speaks volumes of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer organization. It speaks volumes of the culture of Coach Bowles. Everyone knows that that's why you're coming here. And it's hard to get guys to buy into that. I've been in this league a long time, and it's hard to get teams to put individual success aside and do everything for an ultimate goal. And like I said, it's been no more relevant here the last 2 days than any place I've ever been. That's everything we do is about.
How close?
Before Ron could even announce you, I think you were down here by coincidence at the wedding.
Yeah.
Were you scouting? Had you thought about this as where you might be even then?
It was funny because the wedding was on Anna Maria Island, and we weren't here long enough. We barely 24 hours, flew in Saturday morning and out Sunday morning. But definitely, I had talked to my wife, and a lot of my family members were down here for the wedding. And of course, there were a lot of comments about, wouldn't this be a nice place to live? Wouldn't this be a nice place to play? So we definitely didn't have time to really scout anything out. But one of the best things about football and pro sports in general, it's kind of a family of people. Within 2 to 4 hours of news breaking that we were coming down here, so many people reached out about places to live, schools to send the kids, connecting with whether not even Bucs players, but Lightning players. I live in Minnesota, so it's all hockey guys up there. So a lot of the Lightning guys are up there. And it's just, I can't speak more highly for my first 3 days down here and the warm welcome that not only I've had down here, but my family's had, and my family's not even here yet. They don't get here till Sunday. But they're super fired up. The kids are excited for palm trees at Christmas time instead of pine trees.
You mentioned the fact that the Bucs are they were so close last season, and the culture and their ability to win, basically. You were part of the Minnesota Miracle, so what kind of grit and leadership can you bring to this team? Because you know what it's like to be so close, you know what it's like to have a loaded roster and barely bite the bullet.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I've been knocking on the door. I've been one game away from the big one, never gotten to the big one. Certainly over the course of the last 12 years, there's a lot of experience. I like to think that I've pretty much seen everything, been through everything, good times, bad times, wins, losses, and I feel like that adversity is what kind of sticks with you throughout your life, and you learn from it, and it makes you appreciate the good times even better. I think that's one of the things you constantly stress to young guys as you're on good teams and you're making playoff runs that don't take this for granted. I feel like Tom's ruined it for everybody in the league. They just assume you're going to go to the Super Bowl 10 times or make it to the divisional round with a bye every year. But that's not the case. There's been a lot of great players in this league that have never played a playoff game or have never won a playoff game, and you can't take it for granted. So to come to a place like this where, like I said, everything that we do is about that ultimate goal of getting back there. If you would have asked me in 2017 if we'd be back, I would have said absolutely. And yet here I am, coming up 5 years later, and I haven't been close since. So it makes you kind of take advantage of every year and every opportunity.
When you look at the tight end room, you got a bunch of rookies in there. You're a veteran, but you're on the same level as those guys when it comes to the playbook.
They're farther ahead than I am.
So Cam Brate, I assume you guys are going to be best friends. He's the lone veteran in the room. You'd be spending some time picking his brain.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how impressed I've been with the rookies so far. Obviously, Cam's a guy that's been around, kind of been in the system for a few years, has unbelievable knowledge of it. Obviously, I wasn't here in OTAs and mini camps when the rookies were probably feeling a lot like I'm feeling right now. But just to see the way that they've prepared the first 3 days that I've been here, the way they've worked in the meeting room to come out here today on the first day. I've been a part of a lot of first days, and certainly this was one of the cleanest ones I've ever seen just from an organizational standpoint. Usually you got guys everywhere, especially in our room because there's multiple tight ends on the field and you're playing different positions. So to speak to the young guys, I couldn't be more impressed at the way they prepared themselves and went out and practiced today. And then for Cam, it's a lot like Tom. I just told him to let me know when I'm driving you crazy and when you've had enough of me, because I do. It's like I mentioned before, it's one thing to learn the lines on the paper, to learn what my responsibility is, but what are the nuances? How do you actually run this? How do you block this? And those are questions that I ask Cam often.
What's an offense it doesn't just relegate the tight ends to just short to intermediate passes. Like you saw Gronk when he was going down the field for he's really getting behind the defense. Was that something that was appealing to you at this phase in your career? Was that something you feel you can do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm extremely excited for that too, especially, a lot like Rob, bigger guys, longer stride. At times those shorter, quicker routes, that's not stuff that we do well. And it's hard for us bigger guys to get momentum and to get speed. So a lot of those down the field routes give us the opportunity to kind of, pick up speed. Probably ran more of those today than I have in a long time. And, it's a ton of fun. And I can't stress enough how much I'm excited to just be a small part of this offense and do everything I can to help us move the chains, score points, win games.
We're going to be cramming a lot, as you said, but also with the rookies, how much are you going to play like a mentorship role to them as well, helping them along? You've seen just about all there is in the NFL. How much will that play a part while you're playing?
It's huge, and I think that's a responsibility that we have as veteran players. I had unbelievable veterans when I was a rookie. I had 2 9-year vets, a 13-year vet in my room, and they took me under their wing. They answered every question I had. They helped me along the way. They taught me what it means to be a professional on the field, how to prepare yourself as a professional off the field, how to carry yourself off the field. And I've always felt that responsibility to pass that knowledge down to younger players, well beyond now as a 12-year vet. It's just I feel like that's a responsibility that you have. It's kind of an unwritten rule in our game. You got to help the young guys out because we've all been that young guy at one point in our career. And if anyone tells you that they got to where they are as a veteran player by themselves, they're lying. It's not true. You had somebody help you out along the way.
Okay, that's it. Sorry, thank you. Got it.
I was 9 in college, and this is the closest thing to it.